closely for at least 145 people on board the Air India 2379 airplane from Phuket to the national capital. The trip was nothing short of a nightmare. At least 24 people were injured after the flight lost about 300 feet in altitude very rapidly, and this incident, remember, happened just a week back. Many of the passengers were injured and hospitalized after this experience on board. Air India is now looking into the possibility of a technical fault in the airplane as well. But during the course of the investigation, it has now come to the fore that the pilot in command has failed the dope test. Remember, this is a procedural test that is conducted after every safety-related incident. The pilot's sample was also sent for confirmatory test, after which it has now emerged that the pilot was tested positive for the psychoactive substances, and sources also tell Times Now that he is tested positive for marijuana. In fact, let's first begin by taking a closer look at what has happened so far. But let's tell you about this particular incident. Remember, there were at least 145 people on board that Air India 2379 airplane that was coming from Phuket to the national capital when the incident took place. Let's start by telling you, taking a closer look at what has transpired over the last few days. Let's start with what happened on August 4th. Plane suddenly lost 300 feet in altitude. There were 24 passengers on board that suffered injury. The very next day, sources told Times Now that the pilot in command failed the dope test, and sample was then sent for a second test, a confirmatory test. On August 10th, French agency BEA joins AAIB investigation. That means two agencies are looking into this probe. Airbus technical representatives will also be assisting. But most importantly, yesterday what we got to know is that the pilot in command failed the second dope test. He has tested positive for marijuana. So did he take marijuana just before the flight is something that remains to be seen. Many passengers were left injured following this incident, and this incident has naturally raised questions about not only about the passenger safety, but also about whether it is time for the norms to be tightened when it comes to taking drugs and then flying the airplane. Listen in.
People behind me was very injury, very bad. One other guy was all blood in their face, so it was horrible. I thought to die actually.
15-20 पैसेंजर्स को चोट आई है, किसी का सर फटा है, किसी के बेबी को चोट आई है, मेरी लोअर बैक गई है, मेरा भाई है उसका शोल्डर गया, उसकी बैक गई, उसके कान का पर्दा तक फट चुका।
जिस तरीके से वो बात कर रहे थे एक्सीडेंट के बाद या टर्बुलेंस के बाद, तो वो पूरा लग रहा था कि वो नशे में है।
And let's now tell you about the procedure of the entire dope testing process. 10% of the flight crews and pilots are subjected to random annual testing per year, but pilots are also subjected to mandatory dope testing following any safety-related incident like the one that took place on August 4th. Now, during these checks, 2 urine samples are collected to test the psychoactive substance, with 1 sample that is safely stored for the confirmatory analysis. If the initial test comes back positive, the second test is then analyzed. Sources have told Times Now that in this particular case, the second test has also turned out to be positive. And after this, a medical review officer is brought in to find out whether the result could be linked to the medical or any sort of treatment that the pilot is taking. And the procedure is followed as certain medication could also have opioids present in them. But was the pilot in command one who had questionable record as well? Because last evening on Times Now, aviation expert Captain Kabir Malik had to say on this.
Captain Malik, you know, the point is, while there may have been a failure, can we completely ignore the fact that this pilot was under the influence? And is that not something that we also have to find a solution for, a remedy for? Because we came to know about this only 4 or 5 days later. Initially, we were all told it's only turbulence that has caused this. And the number of passengers was also not clear. It was far lesser at around 15. Now we are told it's 24.
I'm totally agree that it should not be tolerable. It will not be considerable to give any kind of forgiveness to this particular pilot, those who was present that time of the incident. Actually, he has a record that he's consuming kind of drugs, but they are not disclosing his name. I know him past 7 years, this guy. He met me somewhere in flying time also. That time he was also toxic. So I just noticed that one day definitely he would become in this stage, and this thing is happened is the previous last flight when he is coming from Phuket to Delhi. So we have to be took it very serious as considerable that he should not come to be in this profession again. First of all, secondly,
no, we have one second, Captain Malik, what you're saying is sensational. You're saying that this person has a track record of consuming drugs. And that you have personally seen it?
Not only am I talking about this pilot. I have n number of people in my list, those who are habitual, but how they come safely from the medical test. This is really a question for the aviation industry. I'm telling you why. BA is not the perfect find out the medical drugs test completely. It will not come you exactly.
Of course, BA is only for alcohol. We all know that.
Is capable to flying or not.
What is the prevalence?
Inside the cockpit, yes.
What is the prevalence of use of these drugs, sir, according to you?
Yeah, according to my suggestion, that the weekly drugs conduct tax has to be arranged by the Aviation Authority of India and the DGCA also, particularly as parallel to the airline also.
Well, the government has now said that they will take strong measures to prevent any such cases in the future. And they've also indicated that they're ready to tweak the existing regulation to improve the passenger safety as well. So that is a stand that has been taken by the government.
Definitive action needs to be taken on this. But in the meantime, if it is anything related to substance abuse or substance using, I would say that from the ministry, we are taking it very, very seriously. And if we find that there needs to be some tweaking in the existing regulations, we are ready to do that also.
And with this very short break, more news and updates on the other side.